How often do you reflect on the principles that guide your life? What are the rules that you follow to navigate the complexities of everyday living? My name is Tyler, and welcome to the video. Today we're going to be talking about pretty much a book review of the 12 Rules of Life by Jordan Peterson. Specifically, though, we're going to be going into my three favorite rules from that book, the ones that I found most important, most impactful. And if you're here seeking practical advice to enhance your daily life and create a positive impact on your mental well being, welcome to the video for you. The only question I have for you, though, are you willing to embrace these life changing rules? Let's find out. So, rules are important. Believe me, they are. I grew up with a lot of rules, probably too many rules. But as a result, I despised rules. I didn't set any for myself. I really didn't know how to. At the time, I had like absolutely zero self discipline. And as soon as I was on my own, I did whatever I wanted, whenever I wanted. I had frequent all-nighters, going out whenever, eating anything and everything, not really having much respect for myself or even for others, and I just let my addictions go crazy. It was definitely leading me towards degeneracy, which is where I found myself after about 2.5, 3 years. Did it from about 17 to 20. And I thought I was being an adult, but to be honest, I was having way too much fun to consider that adulting. And it was also very short-term fun. It got old super fast. Eventually I knew like, okay, I need to be way more disciplined. I got to at least have some rules, some limitations. So it was about, no, it was January of 2022 when I first read this book, The 12 Rules of Life, and it was part of my New Year, New Me plan. I had only read good things about the book. I'd seen Jordan Peterson on some clips from what it was YouTube, maybe a couple podcasts. And honestly, I respected him. I liked a lot of the things he talked about. He seemed very intelligent, very unbiased, and like he had lots of good information to share. And the only thing was he's heavily influenced by Christianity, so that's kind of where I was a little worried about the rules, not sure how I would feel about it. Not that there's anything wrong with Christianity in particular, but it's just sometimes certain things like religion can narrow the scope and create bias. But luckily, I had a free trial for a book app, maybe it was like Kindle or something. So I was like, oh, whatever, I'll just give it a shot. And from rule number one, I was hooked. I had never even imagined the level of depth to some of these rules, and he definitely wasn't forcing his worldview on us. It was very applicable to all aspects of life, regardless of your religion. And he also presents each rule with scientific research, personal anecdotes, and spiritual and philosophical reasoning to justify them. He tries to be as objective as possible. He came prepared. After all, he took like 3 years to pack this book full of his life's work, his life's knowledge. I think he's been studying for over 25 years now, so he's got a lot of it. This book changed my life. I know it can do the same for you. So let's go ahead and get right into those rules, waste no time. The first one, my absolute favorite, was stand up straight with your shoulders back. And this was the very first book in the rule for a reason. It sets you up to be better equipped to handle any circumstance in life. You really would be surprised just how much this one small adjustment can make. Peterson backs up this rule by explaining the neurochemistry and the social hierarchy of lobsters. So, lobsters, that's right. As soon as I read that, I was hooked. I was like, what is this guy talking about? But he explains that social hierarchy with lobsters is very similar to humans. So when the lobsters get in fights, there's a clear difference between the winner and the loser. The winner, he's gonna be dominant, he's gonna be standing up straight, and he's got his claws, he's ready for action. Then you have the defeated one who's, curled up, looking depressed, absolutely submissive. He does not want the smoke. He just got his ass whooped, okay? So he's trying to avoid all that. Now, similarly, a defeated or unconfident person walks hunched over. They seem kind of submissive, right? And then other people, we are in a social hierarchy, so we do either unconsciously or even consciously perceive this and understand that that person's probably lower on the totem pole. He seems kind of weak. Now, that might seem kind of messed up, but it's just the truth whether we want to admit it or not. Now, Peterson goes on further with this point to talk how lobsters also have the similar neurochemistry to us. He explains that they have serotonin, which plays a crucial role in determining the lobster's behavior and posture. The high levels of serotonin lead to a more dominant and confident behavior, while lower levels result in submissive behavior. This concept also applies to us humans in the same way. By standing up straight with your shoulders back, you're going to change both your internal state and the external of how others perceive you. The effects of this are absolutely incredible and they're exponential. The more you do it, the more natural it becomes and the more positive results you get from it. I never even considered my body language until I read this book. I never thought about like, oh, how are my shoulders? What's my back like? I was just always slumped over. Granted, I was unconfident for most of my life, so that was kind of just a normal thing I did. But as soon as I changed it, I'm not gonna lie and be like, as soon as I did it, I was like, oh my God. But once you start doing that, it changes, the external. And then people start, you have different impressions with people, and you're like, wow, that was nice. And then also, the more you do this, neurochemistry takes some time to adjust. But if you keep doing it and the right neurochemicals are coming into you, it's going to start to change your feelings over time, change your thoughts. And it really is great. Very small change. Start doing it today. I can't tell you how much it really has changed my life. So my second favorite rule, most important from this book, is actually rule number 7, and that is to pursue what is meaningful, not expedient. So it's very, very important to understand the distinction between these two. It's pretty much going to serve as the basis for how you direct your life and your actions. So meaning is engaging in activities and making choices that contribute to a deeper sense of purpose and long term fulfillment. Meaningful actions often require sacrifice, effort, and commitment, but they do lead to lasting satisfaction. That's what's important there. It's lasting. Now, with the expediency, we're going to be opting for the easiest and the quickest solutions to problems. This is often driven by immediate gratification and avoiding discomfort. Now, these expedient choices may bring temporary relief and even pleasure, but they often lead to long term negativity and dissatisfaction. It really is the initial pleasure and the ease of access that gets us hooked on the expedient, the easy things. But it does kind of make sense how that happens, right? Our brains are literally set up to go after certain neurochemicals and hormones. That's what we're directed by. Both of the options provide them, just the difference is that expedient pursuits are false sources of what our brain desires. Our soul, or our consciousness, whatever you want to call it, does know the difference. You might feel good in the moment of pursuing these expedient things, but after a while, you're kind of going to get a sense of unease and it's going to feel wrong. We're definitely meant for more than just satisfying our wants and needs. I mean, think about it, right? You could do your whole life's work, 20 years on making a book, right? Like 12 Rules for Life. Or you could do some drugs or play video games, eat some crap food, and you're going to get your dopamine right away. Your brain is naturally going to be like, yo, get the easy stuff, right? Like, that's what we want. It thinks it's doing the right thing, but you know the difference. The conscious part of you, your sense of self. Once I started doing this, my life changed 100%. And I went from, having an unsatisfying sense of self to over time building more of a real sense of self and having like I felt justified in what I was doing rather than like, I'm probably doing the wrong thing, but it feels good. It's definitely much harder. It takes some getting used to, but I would highly recommend this to anyone. They need to consider what they're pursuing in life. Is it meaningful? So the third and final rule is going to be treat yourself like someone you are responsible for helping. This is actually a second rule in the book, and it's a great follow up to the first. Ah, great water. I needed that. So Peterson highlights that people often neglect their own needs while also diligently caring for others. This disparity suggests a lack of self respect and undervaluing one's own well being. We need to choose not to be too hard on ourselves, but also wanting the best for ourselves. We often claim we want the best for ourselves, but then our actions suggest otherwise. If we can adopt this sense of responsibility for helping ourselves, it adds an extra layer of motivation to do the right thing. I mean, think about it, right? Like, if you had a friend and they were just beating themselves up over something, you wouldn't want them to feel that. So you try and talk them through it about it and be like, oh, well, this happened. Maybe it wasn't your fault. Or maybe it was your fault. And, here's some things you can look at it differently. You can look at it constructively, productively. But sitting here and beating yourself up doesn't help, right? But we often do that to ourselves and we get stuck in that pattern of thinking. You need to start kind of cultivating of like, obviously it's probably going to be automatic behavior if this is something you do, but you're going to have to start being like, oh, I'm beating myself up again, let me just talk to myself like a friend. And it feels really uncomfortable. You're kind of like, am I crazy? Like, I'm thinking like I'm a different person right now. But if you want to be a different person, you kind of have to think like a different person. So, Peterson suggests doing this by evaluating your needs, setting boundaries, practicing self compassion, creating healthy habits, and seeking the necessary help. The next time you're contemplating making an unhealthy choice, or even you're just being too hard on yourself, take a deep breath and consider this rule. Just treat yourself like a friend. Now, actually, I lied. It's not 3 rules, it's 4 rules, but I'm not really gonna go too in depth on this one. It's like a bonus rule. So that is tell the truth or at least don't lie. And I had to include this rule. It's like I said, I'm not gonna go in depth. It's pretty self-explanatory. We all know tell the truth, don't lie. We've been told that since we were kids. But really, it is important to live authentically and not to justify your dishonesty. Sometimes we do lie, but that's important to just like be like acknowledge it and try and do better next time. Personally, I used to lie a lot, mostly to myself, and this really did lead me to be complacent. I was kind of like self-deluding myself that the things I was doing was right. But really it wasn't aligning with like meaning and good things. But once you start embracing the truth, it leads down the right path, even if the path is more painful than lying to avoid it. So if you're living life in the wrong way, sure, you can continue to keep telling yourself like, "Oh, I'm doing the right thing, I'm fine." Or you can take a step back, drop the ego, realize you want better and be like, "Man, I'm fucking up. I got to get it together." And that is going to be the difference. I think that's the biggest truth is the one that we tell ourselves. The more truths we tell ourselves, we're probably going to be less likely to lie to others, right? Cuz what do we have to lie about? The truth set me free, and that's where I'm going to leave it off today. Today we went over the three, well, technically four most important rules that I found useful in the book of the 12 Rules for Life. These absolutely changed my life. It's invaluable guidance for anyone who's trying to get some more structure, get some more discipline, and even add a little bit of meaning into their lives. I really hope that you found these rules to be insightful today. I hope maybe you're considering trying some of them in your own life. Anyways, I appreciate y'all checking in and seeing the video today. Make sure you hit that subscription button if you haven't yet, and I will catch y'all in the next one. Take care, everybody.